Hey guys, Ezra here, and welcome back to another Ezra review. And on today's video, I want to review the Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, this is obviously the recent MCU movie that leads to Avengers Doomsday, which is pretty exciting. And this is, I think, the third iteration of Fantastic Four. Maybe it's the fourth one. I don't know. But there is some attempt, from the previous studios, especially 20th Century Fox, where they try to make their own Fantastic Four movies, and they're not great. Like the two Fantastic Four in the early 2000s was like, it's whatever, to be honest. And then you got Fan Four Stick, which is absolutely terrible. Even though it does give us this good meme, where it's fantastic. Say that again,
Say that again?
Like I love that moment a lot, so at least it gives us that meme, but still the movie is really terrible. But I'm happy to report that the Fantastic Four First Steps are actually a good movie, and it's also like a good MCU movie. And of course people have been saying that Thunderbolts is like where the MCU coming back, but I think for me this movie is like the closest things where the MCU could came back, because it does give me some excitement to see it. It does give me some exciting moments, that I want to see more from this Fantastic Four. So for this review, I want to talk about the fantastic part about the movie and the not so fantastic part. Mostly fantastic, but there is some problem here and there. Which we're gonna talk about that later. But I think the first thing that I want to praise is actually the casting here. The Fantastic Four themselves. I really buy the fact that there are actually family, because the chemistry between all of them are really amazing. I think all of them has a great performance, from pedropascal, vanessakirby, josephquinn, and then the thing played by ebonmossbachrach. I think I might mispronounce his name, I'm sorry, but they all did a great job. And of course, we got the villain play Silver Surfer, or Shala Ball, played by Julia Garner. She's amazing. And of course, Galactus, played by Raph Innocent. Like, they're both great villains. I absolutely love them. But speaking of the Fantastic Four, I absolutely love the way the way all of them has some roles in the storyline, and I think all of them has their own moments that I quite love, except maybe the Thing. I think the Thing is the only characters that barely has like a heart in the movie, because I think every other characters from Reed Richards or Sue Storms, and then Johnny Storm, all of them has great moments in the movie except for Ben, which I kind of feel bad for, because I think they tease some storyline with Ben, obviously, because he used to be a good looking man, and now he's becoming the Thing. And I feel like there is so much more they could do with that elements, but they don't really do that, sadly. So I was kind of disappointed that the Thing was not exactly having his own moment, and even if they try to have him has his moment in the movie, it kind of over so quickly that there was like, man, I kind of wish that you let the scene breathe a little bit better, because you let the other scene breathe in the movie and has their own moments, but except for the Thing, where it feels like it ended so quickly, so I was disappointing on that aspect, but overall I still like his inclusion. I still like his chemistry with Reed Richards, because they are best friends. And I absolutely love the action sequence with in this movie, and I think the action sequence is a bit like, well, there is some good parts and there is some bad parts, but I think for the good part here, for the fantastic part, I love the visual effects in this movie. I think they are fantastic, and I think the best visual effects in this movie is actually Silver Surfer and Galactus, because Galactus and Silver Surfer, they're quite scary in this movie, especially Galactus, because I think Raph Innocent has a fantastic voice as Galactus, and I was like, man, every single time Galactus speak in this movie, he was terrifying, and I was like in awe of the visual effects of Galactus, because he was so good. And you can tell that most of the budget went to Galactus and Silver Surfers, because they were so great, so great looking in this movie, and it's just wow. I absolutely love it, and the action sequences are well directed. There is a space chase, sequence with Silver Surfers and the Fantastic Four. It was well directed. It was like intense in a way, and I absolutely love them. And there is some big final fight with Galactus is also, I really love them. So also love the score by Michael Giacchino, which you might know him from. I mean, he did score for The Incredibles, and then he also scored the Batman, I think. So like he has some great score in his belt, and I think this movie also has a really, really great and lifting score for the Fantastic Four. I absolutely love it. And I think Matt Shackman, the director, also did a good job. Because I think this movie is well directed, and I think the way he portrays the 60s, retro futuristic world is absolutely amazing. You can feel the vibe of it, and it's definitely the most unique looking world of the MCU, and I think it does help that this movie took place in a completely different art, or universe, which I think it does help the visual and the vibe of this movie alone, and I think it kind of makes the movie stand a bit apart from the rest of the MCU, because obviously the rest of the MCU is like trying to build a universe, but I think the Fantastic Four is the movie that just focus on their own universe, and I think that's really, really helps their development of the storyline and the characters and the world itself. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I said fantastic a lot, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, it's just it is fantastic. Also, I want to talk about Johnny Storm and Silver Surfer's chemistry in this movie. I was quite surprised to see that these two actually has some serious moment in the movie that actually really, really work. That I'm not gonna spoil what the moment was, but when I first saw that, I was like, wow, I didn't expect to see them get serious in an MCU movie. And that's also another praise that I feel like this movie has some funny moments, but again, they're actually allowing the serious moment to breathe. Like they're not just interjecting everything with jokes this time around, which I absolutely respect that. And one of the serious moments is actually between Johnny Storm and Silver Surfers, which I absolutely love the scene between the two of them, and if you see like the TV spot of like Silver Surfers and Johnny Storm, then you kind of notice that, oh, like they're kind of playing like the jokes, that the fact that these two could become a couple in a way. But I think these two actually has a serious moment in the movie that I absolutely love. It was actually really character driven, not only for Johnny Storm but also for Shala Ball, which is the Silver Surfer. And I think the moment is really, really working, because again, they're not interjecting it with unnecessary jokes. But despite all the fantastic aspect about the movie, I gotta talk about like my disappointing aspect about the movie, which I think also talking about Fantastic Four themselves, because I think this movie has a lot of talking with the Fantastic Four cast, which I don't mind because they all have great chemistry. But here's the thing. I was expecting to see a bit more from their power. I was expecting the action sequence to be a bit more creative, using the Fantastic Four powers, because I think the way that they use their powers in this movie was kind of like a bit basic in my opinion, because again, the action sequences are well directed, but they're not creative, which is kind of disappointing for me, because you have four different individual with different powers that I feel like you could do something interesting and unique with it, but I don't think the movie does that. I think, for example, like Reed Richards' powers as Mr. Fantastic, because he was elasticity. Elasticity is his power, and I think his power is just literally like stretching his arm and his leg, because I know that was his power, but again, it's not creative or unique, compared to the previous Fantastic Four movie, where they actually tried to do something quite unique for it. Maybe it's a bit over the top, sure, but I feel like the best example for it is actually Incredibles 2, with Elastigirl, because I think in that movie, Brad Bird was able to portray Elastigirl's power to be completely unique and creative, and this movie is completely lack of that, because Mr. Fantastic is just stretching his arm and his leg, and that's it. It was not creative at all. And then I think he was the most disappointing aspect of the power in the Fantastic Four family. But I think the rest of the cast did, I think they did a good job. But at the same time, I kind of wish to see the teamwork and the way they use their power a bit more in the movie, because I think the action sequences are well directed, but I wanted to see more from the Fantastic Four family using their powers, because for the most part in this movie they are busy talking and strategizing how to defeat Galactus and Silver Surfers, which makes sense to me, and it was engaging to watch. But I wanted more from the Fantastic Four power, and I think that's gonna be my complaint for this movie, and I think a lot of people is gonna complain about that, where they're kind of expecting a bit more from the powers, and expecting a bit more creativity with the powers, because so far the powers, the way they use their powers are pretty basic. The teamwork is there, which is good, but the way they use their power is like not creative at all. It's not exactly standing out. But I think the reason why the two scenes might stand out is because, well, the visual effects from Galactus and Silver Surfers are absolutely amazing. and they completely stand out as the villain in that action sequence, and that's why I think the sequence are memorable in my opinion. But the powers of the Fantastic Four is not exactly memorable, at least in my opinion, you know. So yeah, I guess that's my review for the Fantastic Four First Steps, guys. You know, I absolutely love this movie, even though there's some flaws in it, but I'm having a fun time watching the movie, and I'm really glad that MCU learned that, you know, not to interject some serious moment with jokes, because this is the first movie that actually was able to deliver some serious moment without making unnecessary jokes, which I absolutely love. And when they are making jokes, there are room for that, there are moments for that, which I absolutely love, you know. And I also love the casting and the performance from all the Fantastic Four family. I think they are great chemistry. I wish there's a bit more from their powers, but still, I still enjoy the action sequence. And Galactus and Silver Surfers are scary and intimidating, you know. The VFX on them are absolutely fantastic. The music by Michael Giacchino is also fantastic. I love them. And also this movie is linked to Avengers Doomsday, which is pretty exciting. So definitely stick around for the mid-credit scenes, you know, because it was quite important. And again, guys, that's my review for Fantastic Four the First Steps. Let me know in the comment section below what do you guys think about this movie right here. What is your favorite moments in the movie? And you know, make sure if you guys enjoyed this review, then make sure you guys, you know, leave a like, subscribe, share the videos, do some stuff, and stay tuned for more videos in the future. And again, I hope you guys enjoy this movie review, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.